Today on the Tim Marner podcast show, we've got our Simon Cass, the general manager of my gym, Burnden Fitness Academy. Where should we start with this, Si? I feel like I want to start with the army and how you got into the army, why you chose the army, and what position you got to. So talk me through that, how you got into the army in the first place.
Right, Tim. Well, I think I'm a Bolton lad, born and bred. From Crescent Road, Great Lever. BL3, the old massive in that area. So I'm born up in the 80s. Didn't have nothing. Single mum. Struggled. We didn't have like a pot to piss in, I think is the word to say. And I was always into, as a young lad, playing soldiers, plastic soldiers. Always loved watching war films. Loved the World War II, the World War One sort of era. If I look back, I probably, people think, spiritually, you was always born in another era, and I think I was in that era and then brought back, when people think you should have been in another era. And I definitely was in that era, that Waterloo. I think even then, Waterloo, then I was brought back to World War II and then back into the 80s, sort of 79. So, so I think it just got through that, and I was, I loved that history side. And then my friend, he was a bit older than me, he joined the Fusiliers, the 1st Battalion, and me and his brother were still at school, and he used to bring all his mates home, and we'd all go out with them for a drink. In them days, no one asked for ID. Yeah. If you looked all right, you got in, didn't you? You put a pair of pants and a shoes on, and a shirt, you got in, and you had to have that dress code, didn't you, back in the 90s, otherwise you couldn't get in. You couldn't get in with trainers and your £150, jeans that everyone now goes in. He joined, and then we sort of just joined straight from school for 16, so
not wanting to do anything else. Nothing else was in your head apart from joining.
Well, my mum got me a job in down at Rakes Lane as a apprentice coach builder, but that was never the plan. The plan was the army through and through, Joe. Always wanted to be a sergeant major. Always wanted me stick and me moustache, and shouted at people. That was the pinnacle, I think, of the life that I wanted. And my first taste of that was getting on the train from Bolton to Royston and Basenbourne, and the sergeant major was there with his stick and shouting your name out. And he was like, everyone's like a roll call, Cass. He's like, hold on, the 30th of the 3rd, 1979, is this your fucking birthday? And I was like, sir. He was like, you're too young, you shouldn't even be here. Who's put you on this train? I was like, the Bolton Bolton Army place. I've just got a ticket, they told me to turn up. Well, you're here now, lad. You're here now. You're 3 months early, but you're here. So that was it. And the life went from there.
How did you feel at that time? Like going from Bolton to that, wow, mate, it must have been a shock to you. Wow. Were you scared, excited? What were you?
Oh God, I think you go through many emotions on that that first day one, week one recruit. I think you're like absolutely petrified. You've got these burly ass blokes, sergeants, corporals, and them days, it was still, they call it bullying, I call it correction. And you've got to sometimes build. I think the army have gone a bit too soft now, where you've got to break somebody to rebuild them and give them the standards and values and stuff like that. And in them days, they used to do it. And I think just going the generation shift now, they're not doing that as much, not getting you down to the level where they then can build you up. So
they're almost sort of like breaking your identity to then give you an identity, right?
Giving you the purpose, giving you your values and standards, because everyone's brought up differently. You've all got different values, and if you look at the majority of blokes in the army, they all come from council backgrounds, especially if you join the infantry. You're very much, probably come from a poor background compared to a posh background, because you don't need no qualifications there to join the infantry. So I think you are in that mindset where they want you to be down, where you can take orders at no sort of questions asked, do what you're told when you're told, bang. I think now the culture is, well, why am I doing that? Yeah. And you have to explain now, as you got up the rank, you have to start explaining to these new recruits, like, why, the benefits and everything else, where in them days it was, shut up, do as you're told, when you're told, bang. If I tell you to jump, you tell me how high. And that was the ethos, I think, back in them days.
How brutal was it for you? Did you have the mindset for it, or did you?
I think I had the, I think they had the staying power, you know, and all my friends and family were always like, yeah, you'll be back in a week. And my mum said, you know, she always quotes when I left the army, well, we always thought you'd be back in a week. You know, we never thought 26 years you'd be retiring with your pension. So yeah, it was a roller coaster of life, and one that I think I think a lot of people are not in the moment, not present enough to now, once it's gone. I always think there's a saying that when you lose something, you don't know what you've got till you've lost it. And yeah, very, I fucking feel like an emotional journey coming out. I feel upset, like that was such a big part of me that I've lost it.
Yeah.
And
so,
yeah.
Appreciate that, mate. You being so open about it. That, I mean, me and you talked about a little bit, and about obviously your identity was so much involved in that when you've left the army. What support have you had to? Obviously, it's traumatic. Yeah. Your identity is in there, then you leave, and then who am I now?
Yeah, like I said, I left in 2021, and it was the pandemic sort of era, so there wasn't that much going on, because it was really, all the courses had really left. I did a few courses to sort of join sort of Civvy Street, but they're mostly like write a CV. I did a 5-day bricky course. I mean, no, you're not getting a job from 5 days of doing bricklaying inside. So I think it was like, what do you want to do? You know, what do you enjoy doing? Because you don't know what job you want to do. You don't know where you're going to go in life. You don't know, and you, at that time you don't really know. You're just going, yeah, I'll try this. I'll try a bit of sales. I can talk. I'm good at leader. So I started doing like sales manager in a company called Gov Data. The guy's an absolute wanker. He owes me $18,500. Never paid me. And that was my first introduction to Civvy Street. So started for him on the 9th of November. I'd already done loads of free stuff for him. Project managed a new build for him while I was still in. So I'd drive up, spend a day, doing all this sort of, taskings for all the sort of labourers on the job, electricians, all that sort of stuff. Did loads and loads of work for free. Started to work for him in November because I had a couple of months really off, and they said, no, I want you to start for me, but I'll give you a welcome bonus in April. That bonus never comes, so I really worked from November till April for free. And then when it come to it, he sort of sacked another manager and then basically told me, yeah, don't bother yourself. After I took him home, basically asked me to drop him off on the motorway and turn around and come back to work. And I went, that's not my values, mate, and I won't do that. He went, well, don't come back. I went, now what, now or never? He went, don't come back. And sent me a disciplinary hearing. I said, mate, you've broke my trust, that's it. That's all I've got in life. Yeah, trust of man to man. You broke it. I won't be working for you. So yeah, so I lost $18,500. That was like, welcome to Civvy Street. And I remember the thing he said, didn't I always tell you I'd never trust anyone? And I think that's a sad place to be if you're not trusting anyone in life. And, and I think coming from the army where you're all together and everyone's got the same purpose and energy because everyone's, got the same goal. I find civilians have not got that. I think there's a lot of people would stab you to get your job, and I think it's a nastier world, and you're sort of in a bit of a cocoon bubble in the army, sort of thing. And I don't think you're not ready for all that. And I think there's got to be something in place that the military have got to start looking at to bring in the identity and the purpose loss. And I think that's why we've got so many veterans with mental health issues. And like I was in and out of different jobs, started a business, went to work for Clifton's. You're sort of flicking in and out. And at the same time, I'd gone through a divorce. So I'd lost my children, my house, everything. And coping with this identity sort of crisis at the same time. And like last year, I just sort of had a bit of a breakdown. I'd gone to Saudi Arabia for 4 months, training the police. A lot of lads out there with the same sort of thing, saying like, the purpose is gone, the identity, they don't know who they are, they're just doing a job for the sake of it, like zombies, just moving into life. And I think I just sort of had a sort of a mental like breakdown, didn't want to really get out of bed, quite a bubbly up and powered guy, want to, gym, all that sort of stuff. Just sort of didn't want to get out of bed, didn't want to do anything. Got done by the police. you know, it just started like snowballing of a violent cycle. And then I went and spoke to somebody randomly. It was like gone to hospital after I'd sort of my ex-wife is a bit of a nightmare. She's a bit of a bit of a control freak. She's a police sergeant in GMP, and she's just all about money, you know, nothing about the kids. And it should be about the kids, but because the government have made it about the children, made it about money rather than the children I think sometimes get left behind a little bit in these sort of scenarios, and women like to use them as a little bit of a pawn, sort of like, you'll do as I say, or I'll just take that access away from you, etc. So I sort of came to the understanding that I could not sort myself out why I still had this woman on top of me constantly, like controlling what I did. You know, I started doing a boot camp, and she messaged me, doing a boot camp, cashing in. I'm like, just felt like I couldn't move. I was like in this trapped. And I just sort of said, enough's enough. And I sort of just said, I was on with Courts in Manchester, family Courts, and I just said, you know what, I'm done, I'm out. And it was probably the hardest decision of my life to say, no, I'm not going to see my kids again. And I was just sort of, that night, sort of had to like, explain to the children why. And a breakdown. Basically drank 2 bottles of JD in the space of about an hour. The cops knocked on the door, they're all asking, you know, are you okay? I said, yeah, go away. The next day, doors went in, and I got sort of shipped off, thinking that I was some sort of like mental case or something. So, yeah, it was and that I think I hit the bottom then. I think I hit the bottom, and I went and saw someone in Bolton hospital, and he just said, listen, mate, you've been at your pinnacle. He said, you know, so you joined the army. You wanted to be a Sergeant Major. You got to Sergeant Major, 5 years. You know, spent the 5 years with the UKSF. You know, all the special forces, training them in the fitness world. You know, and that was your pinnacle. That was you at your best. That's all you've ever wanted to do in life. And then you've come down off it. And then you cannot imagine now anywhere between that. You've got a new chapter of your life, a new phase, and you're just lost, and you don't see there's going to ever be another pinnacle or anywhere near where you were. And he said, but you will. There'll be a second phase, and there'll be a pinnacle somewhere for, you know, Psycast. That'll be your pinnacle. You've just got to find it. So I spent 6 months in David Lloyd's, sort of 8 o'clock till 4 o'clock. Missy dropped me off in the morning, I train all day, relax, listen to a lot of mental health books on, you know, spiritual. Like, went through a bit of a journey, you know, and everyone thought, like, you know, came off all social media, didn't speak to anyone, you know, just left the world, really. So if any of my friends are out there and listening to this, like, you know, it weren't that I was ignoring you, I just needed to find me, and who was Psycast without the army? And yeah, I just went on to this big spiritual journey of my own that we were talking about, and, you know, things that have kept me going is do the basics well and strive for excellence. And this job came up in Burnden Park Fitness Academy. It was like sort of run it like your own gym. And I thought, you know what, that's sort of my sort of bag. I don't have to be in that commercial world where these are the rules, that you stick to them rules. You open the gym, you clean. You're basically a cleaner, really, glorified cleaner, like JD or something. You just opening it, do a bit of policy, but really you're just cleaning and opening doors. So this was like a brand new start, and I think it just came. And I always say, there's sometimes as the journey comes, something just comes up for you. I think that's the journey I sort of looked at last year, that it comes, like, people I think are like begging for a new start, but when you're ready, the start will come.
It'll find you.
The world will just come and give it to you. But when you're not ready for it, the world won't give you it. And this come, and, you know, it's a good start. I've been there, like, this is my 4th week, and we're I think we're cooking on gas.
What's the when you were doing that time at David Lloyd 4 till 8? What was the biggest thing that made that shift in you? Can you remember that one thing that really hit home to say?
Yeah, it was the mental health nurse at Bolton, A&E, just said to me.
Just a nurse?
He was a mental health nurse. Like, right. You know, I need to get his number because I'd love to go and buy him a beer or something, you know. And I haven't touched it. Like, I've had a glass of wine since, but now I drink alcohol-free beer. And for years, you know, the army's a big drinker, especially in the 90s, it were. You know, got a problem, let's go for a drink. You know, your mum's died, let's go for a drink.
Yeah.
You know, it was a massive culture of drinking, you know, big, you know, Sats were open all night, you'd be drinking.
People were doing it like medicine, weren't they?
Medicine. So, because my ex-wife was on me, I found like I was medicating through numbness of drinking 3 bottles of wine, numbness, wake up the next day, be fine. You know, just to sort of stop that. And I think there's a lot of veterans out there, not only just veterans, I think a lot of men that are going through this. You know, if you look on, you know, on the statistics, 40 to 50-year-old men, they're the biggest suicide rate in the UK. And how many men are going missing, veterans going missing. And I think it's the pressure of life, you know, the pressure of, you know, everybody, you know, you can get anything like that. Your wife's probably on, oh, such a body's having an holiday, we want an holiday. Well, we've no money, we'll just make it happen. You know, all that pressure, I think it falls on the man. And I think we're so internally like worrying that a lot of men are suffering in silence of depression, and obviously with a lot lesser testosterone at that age, I think all that sort of is an impact on people sort of saying enough's enough, I can't do this anymore. And divorce rate usually in the 40s, losing all the, you know, the kids, and like I said, women using the kids as pawn. You know, there's some great women out there, and there's, you know, some great men, but there's obviously vice versa. There's no bad men who are not looking after the kids, and there's women out there who are probably not looking after the kids either. So, you know, I think it's vice versa. I'm not going to like alienate men and women, but I think there's a lot of men suffering in depression. You know, not seeing the kids because she don't want them to see them. Dictatorship from them. You'll pay more if I'll give you the, you know, let you have your kids, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think there's got to be a big thing. I think there's a lot of men suffering with mental health, but won't say anything, and who are getting battered and stuff like that as well. You know, who are getting hit by the women and stuff like that. But why would you ever say that? If your woman hit you, would you go and tell your friend that you're getting battered? You wouldn't. So I think there's a sort of an era, stigma of not being open and honest in men. And with it, you know, in the army, it was like, shut up. You know, if anything, you know, if you were, you know, feeling a bit sad, you're like, come on, pull your socks up. You know, get a grip of yourself. You know, I think that's that era. I think it's changing now. I think there's a lot of the level of youngsters coming through now. They're very much aware of their own emotions. Very much, you know, men are crying. You know, young lads are crying, aren't they, and stuff like that. Where years ago it was, you know, stiff upper lip. You know, in a funeral, I wouldn't cry in a funeral, but I cry by myself. But you know, my dad always said to me, you know, you don't cry in front of everyone. You're strong for everybody. That's the man's ethos. You know, that's where you belong. The man control. You know, you take everyone's sympathy while they're there. Let them cry, and you just be the strong one. So I think that stigma's got to go in our.
Yeah, it's got to go.
Our older people, it's time to talk for men. It's time to be open, and I think people are struggling more than what we'll ever know. I think it's very much under the radar, isn't it?
Yeah. So what's the biggest lessons you got taught from the army? What are the things that you know that still to this day that you your sort of core values? What are them?
I think respect for others, respect for things. You know, them sort of be professional. Biggest thing I took from the UKSF, working with them guys, and they're sort of at the top of their game. Was, you know, and I've wrote it on your board today, is do the basics well, no matter what you're doing. You know, if you're doing a podcast, do the basics well. You know, if you're a cleaner, be a cleaner, but do it well. Do the basics. No one's asking you to go above and beyond. They're just asking you to do the basics well. And then on the other side, it's like strive for excellence. You know, you're never going to get there. We're never all going to strive. We're never going to be perfect. We're never going to be, you know, excellent at our craft, because there's always something you can learn. There's always something. There's always somebody you can learn off. There's always something else that's new and exciting to come. So you're always bettering yourself. You're never going to be there, but at least, you know, strive for excellence. You know, never sit on your laurels a little bit. And I think in them dark moments, you know, stand up straight. You know, make sure you do tasks every day. Them sort of routine. I think I lost the way with in them 6 months of darkness. You know, getting up, make your bed. First thing first. Because it's one job you've ticked off.
Yeah.
You know, that's what a big thing was the army. They'd give you a routine. You got up, you made your bed.
Yeah, I had a lady on the podcast yesterday, and she was in bed for 2 years, and she said the thing that I did was I did one task a day to get me out of it. I did one task a day, and also did 2 tasks a day.
Yeah.
So I totally believe in that routine, that just getting a habit, just making your bed, that you've accomplished something.
Yeah, bang,
If
tick.
you accomplish one thing, maybe I could accomplish 2 things.
Yeah.
Then 3 things.
And people that are in that dark moment, that's
do the basics.
Do the basics well.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
get
really
up,
good, that,
make your bed. Which I think there is a book, and there's a big general who wrote a book called "Make Your Bed," and it's like an army leadership thing. And one of his thing is your first task of the day is always make your bed. People who leave the bed unmade, usually a bit scatty in life, you know, don't know really what
Messy.
they're doing. Yeah, messy, you know. And I think sometimes, you know, like I remember my house just being a mess, and I'm very tidy, and you can't cope. You know, if you have a room that's messy, you know, starting at Burnden Park, first thing I did was clean the office, like, because when it's, you know, here's very clinical, it's like a peaceful place, you can clear your head, can't you?
Yeah.
But when it's a mess, whatever's around you seems to soak into your brain as well, doesn't it? So, no.
Yeah, it's true, that, isn't it?
Yeah, I think a messy surrounding calls for messy brains, so make your bed, have a nice, clean sanctuary at home. It does you wonders.
So let me go back to Simon Cass and that Sergeant Major, and just talk me through the process that you went through, mate. So you did that for how long, and then where did you get to?
Right.
You know, what's that process look like?
Well, so I joined in, sort of started the basic training in January 1996. You know, 6 months basic training. You sort of do 12 weeks at Basamon, 12 weeks like at ITC Catterick to become an infantry soldier. You've got to do a few years then as a basic sort of fusilier, as it was in the day, a private soldier. And then you've got to go on a Lance Corporal's course for 6 weeks, become a Lance Corporal. At the same time, what I did is I went on to do the PEI's course, and basically you do all the physical training apart within the infantry role while you're there. And I loved that part. You know, there's a guy, he's called Tony Davis. He actually runs the boxing team for the Olympic boxing team for Bahrain, for the Prince of Bahrain. And he was we're in Londonderry, Northern Ireland. So I've just turned 18 and I've been put on the streets of Northern Ireland, bang, Londonderry, 2 years per, you know, service, 18, boom. And I remember, you know, shouting out, Savage, Cass, you turned 18 yesterday, sir. Straight on the stag list, you know, because you can't walk around the streets if you're not 18. So straight there, 2 years there in Sangers.
What was that like?
Yeah, it was a bit nervous-wracking, especially like things like the riots, Strabane riots. You know, sort of 4,000 or 5,000 people like hating, firebombing you, coming round, throwing bricks over. You know, very scary. You know, especially as a young lad, you've never seen anything like that. You know, if you've never seen a riot, you know, your heart's pounding. You don't know where it's coming from. You know, everyone's sort of watching it. Everybody's back. You know, and it's. I remember being a baton gunner there, with, you know, firing the rubber bullet, poof, you know, trying to hit. You know, just trying to keep the crowds back, because when they start coming forward, you know, when there's only 12 of you, like on 3,000, it's a bit nervous-wracking, you know. So you know, you see that young age, but everyone's got that purpose, that drive to keep everyone safe, haven't they? So yeah, and he was just taking PT one day, and I came off a stag for 24 hours, which is standing in a sangha by yourself watching like a pattern of life. Like what's going on, who moves around, what time does he go, what time the postman come, you're sort of looking at what's going on. And he was just stood there in his white shorts, white vest, and his white trainers, like, go, go, go. Everyone's doing press-ups and stuff on this square in the sunshine. I'm thinking, that's the job for me. That's the job for me. That's what I want to do. So in London then, he could be, I mean, because it was like, 97. So you could either be a raging alcoholic, like go to the pub every night with the lads, internal, sit in your room, playing on, I think it was a Sega Mega Drive or something then in them days, or go to the gym. You really only had sort of 3 options. So I just chose to go to the gym, and I've been in the gym, and then I joined the boxing team, and just like fitness become part of who I was. I think, you know, that journey sort of started then, started to do boxing, started enjoying, love the boxing scene. And then as I've gone through the ranks, so you got Lance Corporal, Sergeant, but when I finished as a Corporal, and I'd gone to then train the recruits down at Basilmore where I started. It was I think that's quite a privilege to go back to where you started at 16 to train new guys and girls to come through. And I was there for 2 years, but I did the PT side, so it's just all the gym-based fitness and stuff, getting them fit from, being a knacker on Civvy Street, and to it was really good to watch kids improve, and some of them were young, some of them were old, and it's, you see 25-year-olds and you've got like young 17, 18-year-olds, you just see the difference between the older mentality to the youngsters. So finished there, and then I lived in Germany for a couple of years, and then you go for a sort of like selection to go to the PT corps, which is sort of the time to run gymnasiums. So you get picked up, put into one battalion or a unit of 600, and you run their gym. So every 2 years you just get picked up and move forward. So you're always making new friends, or you've got to quickly learn like who's got the purse strings, who's going to help me out, who's a good guy, who do I need to get on side. So you're working out people very quickly. I think I'm very good at that.
So when you say running gyms, each sort of battalion's got its own gym, and it's your job to make sure it's got the right equipment, and you're putting programs together,
so it's all health, so it's the whole shebang. So it's all sports, nutrition, fitness. You do all the health and safety yourself. There's no one coming in like health and safety. Like businesses have an health and safety guy. Yeah. You're the health and safety guy. Everything. You're doing the risk assessments. You're doing this. So you're doing everything to do with health. You're doing adventure training, so rock climbing, walking, kayaking, all that sort of stuff. So I can do all that sort of stuff as well. And you're the subject matter expert for the commanding officer, which is like your director in Civvy Street world, isn't he? So he's like very posh sort of person at the top of the tree. So you're sort of his like physical like subject matter expert, and anything to do with that, he'll come to you for advice, and take what you've got in your bag and give it to, and everyone's different, but we've all been trained the same. And every 2 years you just move to another battalion and do it again. So it was like starting with day one, week one. It's like when I started at Burnden, it's like starting a new gym. Like, right, well, first things first. Like, what's lacking? So we're lacking maybe some equipment, maybe the cleaning, whatever it is. So you sort of get stuck in straight away. But like I'd always give sort of 4 to 8 weeks. Just bed yourself in, do a SWOT analysis for the boss, tell him where his strengths are, his weaknesses, opportunities, and his threats, and you sort of give him a lie that maybe down the line I'm going to need X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to need this amount of manpower, I'm going to need some money. So no real difference actually to coming to this job. But like I said, I thought I'd done with fitness until last year when I got back to David Lloyd's, and I just met the buzz of being in the gym and chatting to people, and going on that journey. I was like, actually, I'm not done with the gym. That's me. That's actually the part of me that maybe I've been missing. And it were, the fitness side, but not only that, but the running of the facilities and stuff like that. And that's my sort of forte skill. So I've been running gyms since 2005, which 16 years. All over the world. So I've been in Cyprus to run a gym. I've been all around the UK. Did last 5 years with, the Special Forces and running the selection training and all sorts of different things, and bringing strength and conditioning into the army.
How next level was that, working with the Special Forces? Like can you remember when somebody said, look, we want you to do this side?
Yeah, the job came up. I went from Cyprus to Northern Ireland again, and I'd done 5.5 years in Northern Ireland, so I weren't really that thrilled about going. But it is just our major. Yes, I've got it. I've got the bag because I've always wanted to get the WO2. So that was like, yes, But you're gonna go. But the job's in Northern Ireland. I was like, we've got to fly home every weekend. It's not a bad flight. It's 40 minutes, but still, it's not great. But to be honest, it's quicker sometimes to fly from Northern Ireland than it is to drive from like London or whatever. Pardon me. So I was like, no problem. Let's go with it. So when I was there, I was like, this is somewhere people die. Like, this is not for me. I'm a thruster. I like strength and conditioning. I want to like mobility expert. I like to get people from A to B. I want to like fighting fit, not 55 people that come here to die and they're leaving the army because they're like mostly ready for the knackers yard. that wasn't for me. So I did what I could there. You know, I did, but I was like knocking on the door after 4 weeks of being there, saying this job ain't for me. Like, where's another job? And then it come up, and they were like, this job's coming available. Would you want it? And I was like, yeah, right, I want that. Yeah, that's a good job. So I got down there, and they're a different level. They're a different level of a person.
Can you say where it is, or you're not allowed to say that? Where it was?
Well, I think everyone knows where it was, you know. So, yeah, it's always in one place. I don't think you can Google it; it'll come up on Google. But it's the people are just you wouldn't know it walking past them. You know, they're just run-of-the-mill guys who've just got something in their brain that other people haven't got. Is
that what it is?
And that's it. Yeah, we were striving. You know, when we got the selection process, fitness-wise, we were trying to say like who.
Can you tell these people different when you talk to them?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. They're just always just run-of-the-mill good lads. You know.
But you see,
they're not
when
dicks,
they're training,
you know,
you're like,
yeah.
oh shit, he's got a different switch. Him.
No, I don't. I think they've just got that switch that they'll never say die, never stop. I think, and we was trying to find how the people start on selection, what sort of level of fitness will get them to the end. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter if they were the fittest. They don't always get in. It didn't matter if they were at the back of the pack. They would get in sometimes. It was weird. It's what is in mental strength when everything else is screaming at you inside to give up. Where's the fucking trigger to switch it to overdrive, to keep going? And I think that is a pill that you can never, ever give to someone. They're born with it. They're born. There's people out there that just, you know, if you look at maybe, you know, the stabbings in London, and the guys just jump on a helicopter, go and do that, and then go home and have tea. After, you know, maybe shooting people. You've got to have a different switch. You know, you've got to have a different switch, I think, for that. And you know, the lads were, you know, just sort of at a different level from the military run of guys. You know, the mental, how switched on they were.
Did you have to do a different level of fitness with them then to almost challenge them, or was it what was your job how do you help someone like that keep conditioned?
Well, it's a funny little thing because they never really got any sort of training. Before we got there, it was a lot of they did their own training. You know what I mean? And when we got there, we sort of with a load of other people, a lot of their own people who was trying to get strength and conditioning in, because injuries were obviously a massive factor, and it always is. You know, if you're at that sort of high level, you know, you're jumping out of aircraft, you're doing this, that, and the other. You've got to be robust. However, you never know when. You know, you drive your car today, tomorrow, guess what? Something goes. So it was a lot of mostly a lot of keeping them on the road, because they're worth millions of pounds. These guys, and a lot of money spent on them. I think something like training is like 20 million. A lot of money goes into them. So they're like well-oiled machines, and it's about keeping them up and running. Because
so all functionality, health,
mobility, nutrition went up. So we started putting nutrition into the cookhouse where they went into, instead of like your normal sort of chips and all that sort of stuff. All the healthy food went in, giving them balanced diets, getting nutritionists in. You know, we've got some Middlesex University came down. They've got a massive strength and conditioning team down there. A guy came across who runs it all. He's a real top guy, and his name will come to me in a minute. I hope he's not listening to this, because he won't be happy with me. So Anthony Turner, Dr. Anthony Turner came down, and he started and they do massive S&C program down at Middlesex, and he sort of came in and sort of was just teaching us as well, and it was good to be on board with all that. And we knew it had to come in, and then the military got on board with it as well after the SF pushing it, saying this is what you should be doing, you know, and you know, this is what the army should be doing as a whole. Functional training, not CrossFit, not high rocks, not whatever. Yeah. Functional basic training. And it was funny because we started to do it, and then people were like going, right, I've done squatting now, I've done deadlifting, what's sexy next? And we were like, no, that's it. That's it forever. You know, keep your mobility going. Squatting's always going to be in there. Deadlift's going to always be in there. Bench is always going to be in there. You know, people think there's there's something sexier. There isn't. You know, it's just basic strength work, mobility exercises, you know, keeping that CV, either it's long distance or it's some short and sharp work. If you look at rugby players, they do a lot of, you know, like 9 seconds, 30 seconds. They don't. The fit's, you know, butcher's dog, aren't they?
Yeah.
But they don't do 6 mile running, 10 mile running. This is what the army was doing and was breaking a lot of people. You know, hip, knees, ankle, shin splints, and when you look at an infantry soldier, he walks into battle, carrying load. So he's got to be physically strong enough, the skeleton, to hold the backpack. So if I give you 120 kilos and told you, like, you jump on my back and I'll carry you for 12 mile, you've got to be physically strong enough to do that without crumbling, you know, breaking that chain. Because once you break that chain, that's when you start getting injured. So it was, you know, looking at what we actually did and break it down. And then when you do a section attack, is like, you know, attack on the enemy in an 8-man team, you'd be 4-man gives you suppressive fire and you're moving forward in like 2 or 3 metre bounds, zigzagging. So one, you need to be doing some sort of lot of lateral work on your knees and your ankles and your hips. But you're sprinting because you want to get up and fast, don't you? You don't want to be up there for long like that, Mr. Slow, you're getting shot. So we never knew why we was like running for 6 mile, 8 miles. Like, you don't run. That's what you're doing. You're up, sprint, down. It's like a burpee. Up, run, sprint, down. So, you know, things like that. So you start to do like an analysis of movement. And that's what we're doing down at, with the Special Forces. Like, what do they do? Because they do some things differently. Watch what they do. Watch how they hold the weapons. Watch how they do the sort of drills. And then sort of make movement patterns into the gym to strengthen them areas. So they haven't got any weaknesses. And that's what it was about. So, yeah, great time. I think I didn't realise how good it was.
Right.
And I think, you know, I was saying to someone today, you know, being present, over the last 6 months, I've realised being present is key in life, because I think you sometimes think the day's never going to come when you're going to lose what you've got. Yeah. And when I lost it, I didn't know how much it meant to me. And when reflecting back, God, I so miss them days. You know, I would go back. Heartbeat.
Yeah, I think it's for me, mate. I was thinking about the other day about being present and what that actually means for me. But what I need to do is almost take account and be grateful at the end of the day. Because what I do is when I'm in the present moment with you, after we've done this, I would not have a clue what I'm talking about. Yeah. Because I'm so present in flow states that I need, at the end of the day, I need to go, right, okay, let's have a look back. I was really grateful that Simon came in. I was grateful that he was open with me. Grateful for all them things. Yeah. So I like being present, but for me, presence being in flow state, I don't know if that's remembering. Do you know what I mean?
The bits.
Yeah, the bits.
Yeah. And I think gratification, you know, being grateful, I think nowadays as well, we're so hell-bent on either looking at the future, what we want, or we're dragging utter shite from relationships, from the past, from our upbringing, into the future, that when we're never present. Yeah. We're so hell-bent on, you know, I haven't got this or I haven't got that, or because everything's like in the 80s, you didn't know what Joe Bloggs had down the street in his house, except if you went in. But now you can see everything, and half it's bollocks anyway, isn't it? People, all the Instagram shite, and look at me, you rented that car, bollocks. You know, bollocks. It's all bollocks, and we're all hell bent on it. And I've just started going, you know, like being grateful. Like wake up in the morning, I was like riding to work on my electric bike, and sun was on my face. I'm just like, this is so nice. Like I'm grateful for being here. Like nice air. My kids are healthy. You know, I speak to them every day. You know, I've got a roof over my head. I've got food on the table. People haven't got that. Be fucking grateful for what you've got. Stop looking at Instagram posts of some woman taking pictures going, oh, look at me, I'm having a cocktail in Ibiza. So what? If you can't afford that, doesn't matter. Be grateful for what you've got. Maybe you've got a good man at home who loves you to death. Don't be looking at other men thinking, oh, he's driving a fancy car, he might treat me better. Might not. That guy might be your best thing that you've got. And when you've lost it, like I said, when you lose something, sometimes you realise what you have lost, and you shouldn't have lost it in the first place. So just being grateful. And I think over years, I probably haven't been grateful for what I've got. And like you said, when I've been on this journey, I've started to really appreciate the just little bits in life.
Little bits,
but it's the bits that make sense. The journey.
Just right.
I got a new house in November, and I've been living in an army cot bed, sleeping bag, little, like, my message is going, like, are you mad? Like, what are you doing? You're in a conservatory, in a building site, you've got no lights, no electricity, you're shitting in a bucket outside in a shed. Like, you're sending me pictures going, look at my new toilet. I'm thinking you're sending me a toilet. You're not. You've done some bricks around a builder's bucket, and you've cut out a piece of wood to go on top so you can have a shit. And like, she's like, what are you on? I'm like, that I'm appreciated that I've got a toilet. I said, but the thing I'm appreciating, this is a journey, and not it's going. This is going to make me mortgage free. After 7 years ago, I got out of a divorce, and I left with nothing. I had to borrow money to like get me get on the property ladder, and I lived in building sites for years, and I've been doing houses up all this time, and after this house, that's me mortgage free after 7 years, after living outside in gazebos, and my kids have like cutting a piece of carpet out, so when they got out of bed, they put their feet down on a piece of old carpet out of an old woman's house, the old flowery ones. So, and then they put the slippers on, and and then they went downstairs with it, like, and then we like get outside in a gazebo.
It's sick, that, mate.
Open
the lessons they'll learn from that.
Yeah. And making bacon sausage sarnies on a barbecue, and a little mini fridge, like get the sort of generator going, and we just was in there. But do you know what? The kids still buzz off it when we talk about it, like. And people think, no, you can't do that to your kids nowadays. No, you're giving them life. Life's not an easy road. It's an hard road.
It's a choice, isn't it? You could choose to get stressed about, I've not got an house, I'm not my kids are not, but like, you can also choose to kind of go, hey, I'm so grateful right now that I've got this little adventure with my kids, I'm just like...
Yeah, and that gave me that get up and go. But then last year, I don't know what it was. I think I just got a bit... I'd done my house, I'd done like a fake grass farm, done everything. And I came back from Saudi, and I think it was because I was with a big group of lads again, the army mentality. And I came back, and bang, I was on my own again.
Right.
And I just went, and like, people could come round and, come on, pull yourself out of it. And I was like, you just don't understand.
Yeah.
Trying to explain, where you've been and what you've done. It's hard in Civvy Street anyway. I've been to Afghanistan twice and stuff. And if anybody out there talks to someone and they start telling you about Afghan and places like that, they're bullshitting. They're probably not even been in the army, because we don't talk about it. We're not that. You wouldn't talk to a civilian about it because they couldn't compute. Yeah. You sit another squaddy next to them, blah, 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 blah. You can't shut them up, boom. And it's that instant mutual respect.
That shared experience.
That straight away, that bond of brotherhood. Yeah. And there's people that you'll meet, and it's weird. I've been on holidays and stuff, and the only people I've talked to in the end, you start talking to a couple, and they've gone, hey, well, what do you do for a living? They've gone, I'm military, or I'm ex-military, or I'm ex-RAF. Or it's weird. It's like you've got this, like, you can smell them, the way they walk, the way they hold themselves. There's a level of, I think, mystery between, like, you can feel, and it's weird.
I've been a frequency,
like
energy
that you feel like you're one of my people, like, sort of a thing. And not that I'm settling into Civvy Street. Am I there? I've met some military guys who've been out 10, 15 years, and I've said to them, like, when do you change? When do you feel like you belong in Civvy Street? And they went, and I was like, well, them eyes don't tell me much, mate. That tells me that's a long process. And and his wife turned around to me once and said, 10 year plus. And I was like, that's a long time. So I think last year, falling into, I think I couldn't have fell no further. I think I was at the bottom of the tree, fell out of the tree from the high. I think that actually has picked me up quicker and gone, actually, I've got to learn to love this journey. It's a new journey, new prospects.
Yeah.
I was fortunate to have some money behind me, so I could have 6 months off and sit in David Lloyd's, and my pension comes in as well. A lot of people don't have that luxury in life to go, I can have 6 months off or whatever. But yeah, I said to myself, I got to take time for me. And I think there's a lot of people out there, if you've got a busy life, you've got to take some time for yourself, spiritually, you know, we talked about it, haven't we, in the gym? Meditation, yoga, all these, like, they're so key. Like, just going into a spa, like Burnden. I don't know if you know, people out there, if you've not been down to Burnden Park Fitness Academy, we've got a lovely spa, steam room, sauna, jacuzzi, and a pool. You know, from the outside, you'll never see that. And that there, for 40 quid a month, just to come there once a week.
Just for time for yourself.
Just for time for yourself. You know, all these stressed out women out there, just come there, just have time for yourself, an hour a week. But majority is, people got to know the benefits of PT, physical activity. Get yourself out, walking, just fresh air, 10, 15-minute walk would bring your stress levels from like a 95 to about a 45.
Yeah.
You know, and I think people just go, I'm just sitting down, I'm so tired, I'm just sit down in front of the telly. Whoa, wrong. That's going to make you more stressed. More crap going inside you. Like, get out, walk 20, half an hour. Even with your kids, your partner, chat about your day. Be grateful that you've got that, because I don't think we ever know when our last days on this earth coming.
Yeah, agree, mate.
And, you know, and if you don't appreciate it every day, and when it's gone, you know, I think, and that's when people sort of react in different ways. They don't know they've got something good until they've lost it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people they don't know how to get out of their own heads. So, like, even if you come down to Burnden Park and you go into sauna, it's like you're still fucking stressing out when you're in there. It's like the meditation and yoga teaches you to get out of your head just for a split second, just even if it's a minute or 3 minutes, just get out of your head. Stop the logical thinking. The logical thinking doesn't. You got to go into your intuitive side and just be an observer of your thoughts, not a fucking. Just not let them be a master of them. Don't let them master you.
Yeah, I think, definitely I think one of the things I took last year, and it was massive, and I was listening to some of these YouTube, it's like Denzel Washington, there's some good thing on, I don't know if it's Denzel, it sounds like Denzel Washington, so he must do a lot of speaking, and I just listened to this thing, and one of it was, don't let people control your emotions, and it right round my brain. Now, I think my ex-wife, since we broke up, has controlled a lot of me inside, made me angry, bitter, and frustrated in life, and it spreads. It's like an evil thing, and it spreads into all parts of life. Your new partnership, your kids.
It's toxic.
It's toxic inside you.
Yeah.
And I think last year when I hit the bottom of the bottom, I just thought, I was listening to this thing and I said, you're right. It was like somebody can be having a bad day and they're having a bad time, and then they have a go at you because they're having a bad time. Yeah. And what we do sometimes, we soak it up as men. Yeah. So your partner's having a bad day, you like soak it in. And then I was like, oh God, she's struggling with money. Oh, she needs my help. And I was like, no, like, why am I taking on her issues? Like, it's not my problem. So I just started saying, like, it's not my problem. Taking some deep breaths, not responding straight away, having maybe a few hours, maybe a day, 2 days to then email back. Because we used to like go hammer and tell them 94 emails and like that. I'd be like 3 bottles of wine in just to numb the pain, to stop your brain from like going mad. Like you said, sometimes just having that time by yourself. Yeah. And that's, I think, key was now, even my new partner, when she sometimes gets stressed, I just go to, I've got boundaries. I went and spoke to someone, I think, like you said, you went and spoke to someone, picking the gender pieces. Yeah, yeah. And it was, the woman said, do you not put boundaries out there? What do you mean boundaries? How can you stop someone ranting at you? She went, you don't respond. Yeah. You just have some deep breaths. Yeah. Read what she's put, but just respond nicely to the bits. Yeah, you don't attach to it, man. She said, when you see that, they'll be more angry and frustrated. And now, I'm just like I said, my new partner, she'll go into one, and I just go, stop. Yeah. I don't like the way you're speaking to me. Don't speak to me like that. And then you just sit there quiet in the car, let's say, and then an hour later, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to speak to you like that. Because now they're going to their head, is it me? I've been the one, But if you respond in a nasty way back, they've got something to come back and go, you were nasty to me, you said nasty things to me. But if you haven't, you go, you're in the right, aren't you? Because you've been centred. You're not spoiling my day. My day's amazing. I'm having a great time. I've looked in the mirror. I've liked who's coming back. I think last year was a big eye-opener. I looked in the mirror. I didn't like the man who stood there. Didn't like Sidecast. And that sort of
physically or emotionally. Could you see it, look in your eyes and go,
I was dead. I was like,
really?
doing nothing. It was like, I looked at myself and went, who have you become? You're not Simon Major Cass. Like, but who's Simon Cass become? You've become this horrible person who's lashing out and blah, 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 and not wanting to get up, no motivation, not positive, no, negative on everything. Not done any like exercise for months. I just looked at myself and went, it's got to start now. You've got to love yourself again. I've always been one, you've got to love yourself before you can love others. You know what I mean? You've got to
get yourself.
Because how can you pass love on if you're hitting yourself inside because you don't love yourself? You no love to give, have you? If you can't love yourself. So, it was a part of me was like that, and I was like, this is it. You've got to start loving yourself. And I went down David Lloyd's. I didn't really have the money to pay that, but I've just said, no, you know what? 120 quid for my own health and well-being and mental health. It's worth 120 quid. So all these people who think gym memberships, I'll cut them like that. First thing to go, because I'm struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
They're actually you're probably your best friend. It's going to actually improve your life.
Yeah, you call them mental fitness memberships instead.
They
don't call it gym membership.
Because I think people do it. They go, oh God, I'm struggling. What's the first thing to go? Right, I'll keep my Netflix.
Yeah.
And I've been and all my other crap on TV, but I'll kill my gym membership. Like, no, this is going to actually prepare you, as in giving you your happy feelings in life, for maybe something that's coming in your life. When we talk about like what's to come, but if you're not ready for it, the world won't give it you. So if I would have got this opportunity, I think last January, February or March, I wouldn't even took it. I wouldn't even looked at it. But because I was ready for it, I've took the opportunity.
It met you the place.
It sort of came at the right time for me. And I think people like, just bin my gym membership. But there's so many benefits from activity, healthy body, healthy mind, coming to a class. Even just if you're a bit lonely, there's people you can talk to in the classes and, you might get a couple of friends there. Loads of benefits from that. I think that was seen in like the pandemic and the COVID. If you're just lonely, like how many people were committing suicide? I think there must have been 64 ex-Fusiliers killed themselves in about 4 months. Every week they were rest in peace, and that's because they've got into their own head and they never liked being there. And I think that's where I would say to anybody who's struggling, you need to get into your own head and sort the problems out. Not drink, not drugs, like being around people, keep being around people to keep yourself busy, keep your mind busy.
Yeah.
Don't. Get some meditation, go and train by yourself with a headphone on, go for long walks in the countryside, but figure your own thoughts out.
Who am I now?
Yeah, why am I?
Find out who you are.
Yeah, find out who you are, why you're here, why you want to be here, what makes you tick, what's driving your life. And there's some hard questions. It might be you'll have to lose some people around you to do that. There might be some toxic people who are keeping you down, negative.
Yeah.
Yourself, you can get some people who chain you up because their world's shit or whatever.
You're off onto another peak.
Yeah.
You're starting at the bottom of the mountain again, and it's cool. It's going to be long, and there's a different peak. I like that.
The journey of, I'm going to enjoy the journey, and the journey started. Just like I said, bought a new house. Not everyone will enjoy shitting in a bucket or living in a building site with like a Ninja and a brew and a kettle and a toaster or whatever. People are not built that way. I'm built that way, so it doesn't bother me. But I know my partner wouldn't dream of doing that. She's been struggling. We've just been doing her house up as well, and just having no doors on freaked her out. I've no doors on. My kitchen's not finished. And she starts getting anxiety. Where I was knocking the walls down and living in dust and out my torch for my phone, trying to put your shoes on and going for, you know what it is when you get up, like, oh, where's my pants? Put my pants on, put my boots on, go walk outside for a pee in the morning and stuff like that. And people are just not made like that. But shitting outside and doing all that, that's part of the army motto. You know, you have nothing. Like when you're out in the field, you've only got what you can carry. You know, but you know the fun
I think too.
times.
But I think for me, mate, I think people are too comfortable. It was like me last week. I felt a bit comfortable, and I grabbed hold of my tent. I went top at Rivy and said, "I'm going to sleep at top of Rivy tonight." Just in my thing, I didn't get a good night's sleep, but in the morning I woke up and I was like,
different man.
yeah.
Because you come out your comfort zone. I think that's what happened to me last year, and I think I've been so comfortable. It's been about 3 years since I did any work really on my house, and I just got this comfort.
Yeah.
And it was smothering me, killing me inside.
Killing.
Because
it
was because I think because the army, I think you're always doing something. You're always like you're doing
you're always growing.
Yeah,
you're always growing.
Next week you're
all the time.
on a rock climbing face like that, shitting yourself, going, oh my god, doing a course, or you're kayaking, or you're going to a boxing event doing boxing. You know, you've ever stood in a ring refereeing, you never know when you're going to get a clout. Or you're like, whoa, you know. There was always so exciting, you know, keeping them. Endorphins bubbling inside. It was like life was exciting. Yeah. And I think Civvy Street's a bit dull.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's finding what you can do to make it exciting. But again, a bit of appreciation. You think it's not dull actually. I'm making the journey fun myself. Do you know what I mean? Along the way.
Yeah, I think sometimes your habits and your routines can own you. So what I was saying to you this morning, the gym. I'm getting into a routine and habit, and it's easy for me. It becomes a safe place. I'm just like, nah, I need to mix this up. So sitting with myself at home for a couple of hours asking myself questions. That's harder than going to fucking gym.
Yeah. Asking you
what
you're doing.
Why did that trigger you yesterday, Tim? That guy said that to you, why did it trigger you? I'm like, I don't want to answer it.
Well, you don't.
You're about to.
Yeah, but you're about to now. And you said, you know,
you sat with yourself in your underpants on side at bed.
My missus says that sometimes, you know, like, what makes your pin come out? Yeah. Why does your pin just come, like, you know, with certain people? And I think certain people are here to push your buttons. Yeah. They know how you push your buttons. Yeah. And then how to not just take some deep breaths and say, you are not spoiling the peaceful day or what's inside of me with your crap. Yeah. You know, you're having a bad day, keep it to yourself. Don't put it onto everybody else. I think, and like when we first met, and I was saying, I've seen one of your mental health things on Instagram or YouTube, and I said, like, you just go. I think people just got to go on their own journey, and appreciation. Don't let people spoil your bubble. You know, don't let people get. You know, if whatever they're doing, just concentrate on you. You know, they could be having the worst day of their life. That don't mean you've got to have it, but as soon as you let them control your emotions, you'll be horrible, frustrated, angry. You've let them control you, and it's time to take your own control of your life, because we're only here once. And if you let them control your life and you do something stupid, reckless, unfortunately that's where people go wrong, don't they? They get into a fight or whatever because they've let somebody else control their emotions for that split second, and you've hit them, bang.
What can we be expect at Burnden Park now, mate? What can I expect? Will you be putting any workshops on like this, talks, anything like that? Will you be putting on what have you got in your head to make this?
Well, I think I don't know if anyone is aware, but we've probably got the best yoga studio this side of London. I think.
I've been there 4 years, mate, and you showed it me the other day. The first time I've ever seen it.
And how beautiful it is!
Beautiful,
like, you know. And I'm wanting to get that place bustling. You know, I am speaking to a few yoga people. Anybody out there who does mindfulness, meditation, who wants to come and hire the place, you know, they can hire it. You can. Mate. It's absolutely amazing, massive. And it's beautiful. Like you got Buddha in there lit up. Yeah. You know, you've got the white sort of rocks around the things. It's just so peaceful in there. It's quiet, and it's been underused. So we're looking at hiring that space out. And like I said, I'm big on yoga, mobility, meditation. So I am looking for some specialists to come down and then we might start joining some groups and getting them in and helping out the NHS that are
exciting, mate.
Mass the mental health in. Not just Bolton, I think in the UK or in the world, I think we've got to do something about it, and a lot of it's because people are watching this stupid shite on the Instagram and that, and wanting this other life. Well, it's not coming to you if you don't go and take it, if you don't graft for it or whatever. It's not going to come to you. But just stop wishing about it.
Yeah.
If it's going to come, it's going to come. But it's going to come at a burden from you. Stop scrolling. Go and get yourself, make yourself a job and work your ass off. And that life will come. But keep scrolling and looking at it. It's never going to come.
Yeah, I said it the other day. It's like I just feel like so many heroes have turned to ghosts. I've got my heroes are Superman and Batman, and these kids are looking at other kids saying that's my hero. I want to be like that. And I'm just like, why do you want to be like that?
A goon who's doing stupid shit on Instagram.
Nothing. Have not been through life. Have got no experience. Have not been through hardships. You don't want to be like that. But
if you look at our generation of youngsters now, they don't know anything, and that's why the mental health's so big in our youngsters, because I think some ownership's got to go on parents. Are you teaching your children? Are you wiping their ass constantly? Don't stop it. I don't wipe my kids' ass. I'm not there cleaner, cooking, whatever. I cook for them, but I'm not.
Mollycoddling is the name.
Mollycoddling, yeah, mollycoddling them. Teach them. Are you teaching them to cook, clean? Are you giving how many people go? I'm not taking any rent off my kids. Why? It's life's not free. Take rent. I know loads of kids all driving around in these brand new BMWs and Audis and all that, and oh yeah, but I can't afford rent. How do you afford your car then? How do you afford put petrol in and all that? But mums and dads are allowing that. Yeah. And they've got better cars than mum and dad are struggling.
Life lessons.
Life lessons. My mum, I remember taking my first paycheck, it was like 59 quid. My mum took 40 quid, I had like 19 quid left or something. That's your rent. It's life. You still got to eat, haven't you? You still got, you still want to put your Xbox on or whatever crap you do at night and watch YouTube. That electric it's not free. Life's not free, is it?
No.
And I think, there's an area there that we need to resolve. And show our children that actually, you don't just get everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes you've got to wait and
resilience,
put strong
discipline, independence.
All them, they're key. All them are good military traits. And if they brought back national service, I think they'd do wonders.
Yeah.
Bring some discipline and back into the youngsters, because I think if you're not getting it at home, like standards and values, which I don't think we're giving that sort of impression anymore.
Yeah, but I think we're building a sort of generation of quitters, to be honest. And
they don't just get a job and they just keep.
Yeah. I'm just like, it's hard this, or this person talks a certain way, so I'm not going to go.
Yeah, next day I've gone for another job.
What about a conversation and kind of look and say, you know what I mean? Just get through it. A
lot of kids can't talk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've got a 24-year-old boy, and I mean he struggled first. Now he's a sales he sells cars, so I don't know what you call it, but he's a salesman anyway for Toyota. And years ago he struggled, because he'd been locked up with that Xboxes and stuff like that. He'd lose that sense of talking face to face. I think they're all great on WhatsApp. When you talk to them, can't speak. I think relationship building. I was talking to the managers actually at Burnden the other day, and I said, "Just what business are we in?" They're like, fitness
building.
Yeah, they're fitness, all this. I was like, health. I was like, no, people. We're in relationship building. Every person comes to that door, we should have a nice relationship with. And the more you have the relationship, the more they cannot. This is the best hour of the day to come into that gym. Have the best hour.
It's changed since you've been there, mate. Honestly, I'm not just saying it because I like you, but honestly, within 4 weeks, you can see it.
A lot, yeah. I think we've done a lot with
the lads are nice. I like the lads at there.
Yeah, the staff are great.
Yeah.
We've got such a nice staff, and I think they've just been, the ships crashed in the sea, and they've had no rudder. The rudder's come off, and they've just been basically bobbing around, basically opening the door.
Yeah.
And they've said to me, Simon, we just needed someone to come and lead us. I'm not a manager. I won't put myself with that category. I quite hate that.
Yeah.
Manager. When people say, "Oh, I'm a manager,"
Yeah.
What you manage processes. That's all you do.
Yeah.
That's what a manager does. A leader inspires, takes people on journeys, and that's where I'm taking the team. I want to be the best gym in Bolton. I mean, we're not going to be on the likes of David Lloyd and 140 quid a month. We're not going to be that. But for that If you look at the average person in Bolton, well, the working class people on a working class wage.
Yeah.
And probably about 85% is that working class.
Let's look after them.
Let's look after them. At 40 quid a month to get a full spa experience.
Yeah.
And Jim, I mean, I've just finalised the timetable. I mean, we're going to put about 9 to 10 classes on a day. There's going to be loads of stuff going on. I think we've got yoga nearly every day because we've only had 3 sessions. We're just bombarding it with.
Yeah, I'll get into that now. Doing that.
Yeah,
I need that in my life.
Yeah, that is. I think everyone needs that in life. It's just stretching, mobility, flexibility. And I always say, I think you don't realise when you're a child or growing up, but when you get to about 40, you start looking like, oh, everything starts going a little bit. You're like, oh God, everything. Years ago I could do a 10 miler after being out all night and carrying 120 kilos, like, not blinking eye. Now, if I did that, I'd be crippled for 3 days. So you just sort of go to yourself, well, what is it? What is it that I need to do? And I've come to the conclusion, like, longevity. And I'm big on longevity now. So I'm into make sure I'm nice and, fresh in body, fresh in mind. I'm mobile. 'Cause I want to walk at 90 if I make it that long, because you never know when our numbers are up. But I don't want to be decrepit. I don't want to be in a wheelchair. I want to be walking around with my grandkids or my great-grandkids. I want to be running around. I want them to look at me and say, hey, my granddad's like Superman still. He's fucking there. I don't want him like, fucking hell. He's just sat in his chair dribbling. Yeah. If that comes to a time, I always said to people, just fucking leave me near a cliff and I'll go off myself. I've come in this world myself. I've done what I wanted to do. Yeah. I'm going on my own terms. I'm not sitting there zoned out, dribbling, someone wiping my ass. That's not a chance. So I'm definitely like up for keeping myself going, and I think we're all living longer. It's the quality of life that you want. So do you want to get to 67 and have that quality of life come to you because you retired, and then be not able to use it because you've got ill health? I think that's what people need to understand, that when you get there, when you think yes, because the government tell you this big dream, work all your life, pay loads of tax and insurance, and then you get this few years of your life called retirement. Well, you want that you want that all the time. All the time. And when you get there and you want to retire, and I think 67 is a long time. I think people, if they're smart enough and they do some, some hard, not saving, but sort of investments and, do things on the side, build houses or whatever you want to do to get some income in that you're not working time, you're not changing your time for money, and do a few things like that. You can retire earlier, but I think you've got to have your fingers in some pies to keep you mentally focused. I think when you retire, that's when your body goes, right, it's death, we're dying. I think you've got to still have your fingers in pies. You've still got to be doing something. You've got to be active every day. You've still got to be doing, going to the gym and keeping going. But when you get there, you want to have quality of life. You don't want to get there and go, I've neglected myself all my life. Now I'm going to start getting into fitness. Too late. Your body's gone. Fuck me, mate. You're fucked. You've got arthritis. You've got fucking mobility problems. You've bad posture. It's over. Really sorry. You're just now sat in a chair watching telly. God, I didn't want to do that in my 40s, never mind in my 70s. When I've got time, I want to be out there walking, go and see the countryside, going to different countries. That's what you want to be doing. That's quality of life, isn't it, when you've got time? Because we never get time back. I think that was one of the things that, you can lose all your money, you can lose your family, you can lose everything, but you can always get it back. You can't get time back. I think that's the biggest thing I've took last year was I've wasted 6 months of my life being a bit depressed and a bit of this, that and the other. And actually, I can't get that 6 months back. Yeah. But I won't waste any more because I could die tomorrow. I could get hit by a bus. Yeah. We just don't know, do we? So let's appreciate what you've got. Let's keep going on the journey, enjoying life. And let's take other people with me. Take people, pull people up. There's people who probably don't, in that place don't belong in that job. They belong doing something else. And it's sometimes sitting down with someone and finding out, why are you here? Some people have got degrees and stuff, and you're like, why are you here? Why are you doing this job? Is this fulfilling you? Is this, or it's just passing you and you're just wasting your life. And sometimes it's like giving some people a bit of a chat and saying, go and do something else, you know, and inspiring them to go and do something else, because not everybody wants to do that job forever. But it's like pulling people up.
Yeah.
When you know, people below you. I find that leaders or managers don't like doing that because they're so scared of losing their own job, their own status, to train people to be better than them. And I think that's one of my always things, to pull people up. Don't smother them. You know, don't micromanage them. Give them some tasks. Go and do it. And and then I will coach you through it. I'll help you if you get a bit of sticking point, or I think things could be better. But that's only my opinion. That might not be your opinion, but I could give you something like, oh, what do you think about this? Not telling people like, you shit, you don't do this well. Well, that's negativity. That's putting people down.
Yeah.
You've got to build people up. And like with the managers meeting, we did a whiteboard. Love a whiteboard. Love a fucking old school whiteboard out. Not got posh mod cons like touch screens and all that shit. So and I just put a big row at the bottom of all the things the sort of gym does: team spirit, management, training, cleanliness, all this sort of stuff. And I put 1 to 10. And each question I said, right, come, like, you all got a different colour pen, come and put down where you think the team is, or the facilities are out of management, team spirit, where's the team at, and they all dotted them around. And I said, look at this, like, tell me what you think is professional, tell me what you think training we should be doing. And they knew. I didn't have to tell them. I've been sat there for 3 weeks, like, holding it all in, like, oh my God, we could do this better, but I didn't want to tell them, because I wanted them to tell me, and they did.
You understand it on a different level, don't you?
They knew that they weren't doing the stuff they needed to be doing, but no one just give them a little bit of push in the right direction and give them a little vision and saying, you're good enough. I'm just here with the rudder, and I'm just going to do this and just keep you on course. What I'm not going to do, I'm not going to come and tell you how to do it and what to do. I'm just going to steady your shit. And I said, you just told me everything that's what's bad about this place that you've already told. I didn't have to tell you. You already knew, but you've not done nothing about it. Right? How do we improve this? And then they knew that as well. So it's amazing that our workforce is our asset, and people don't utilise it. They think that they know better, and actually your workforce, who probably worked there longer, done more, know all the clients, they probably could tell you how to run that place. They just need somebody to guide them and inspire them to be better.
I'm excited, mate.
Yeah, so I
appreciate you, mate, for coming on, and I'm very grateful to have this conversation with you. I'm excited what's going to go on in the gym. If anybody wants to sign up to Burnden Park and they want to say hi to me and Si, Burnden Park Fitness Academy.co.uk, Burnden Park Fitness Academy on Instagram. I'm hoping that the Fitness Academy goes, because I don't like saying it to people, Si, I'm going to be honest to you, but thank you. I appreciate you.
I would say it might be in the pipeline, and there's lots of stuff coming, lots of stuff in the pipeline. So, thanks for having me, mate. Cheers.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Goodbye.
Tim Marner, what, you're branding with the best. Tim Marner, what, you're branding with the best. Tim Marner, what, you're branding with the best. Tim Marner, what, you're branding with the best.